I don't remember. Do I say I'm Karen Garvey first? Do I? I do? Okay.
You have to.
Hi, I'm Karen Garvey.
She forgot. Hi, I'm.
Okay, let's start over. Hi, I'm Karen Garvey. Because of what I focus on with my life and what it is I'm always aiming to bring through to audiences and clients, I get a lot of questions about what happens when we die. And there's a lot of information on Earth, myriad information from different kinds of sources. Some try to give us theories, some try to give us some practical evidence from perhaps near-death experiences. A lot of information or suppositions come through religion and so on. But what I can tell you is what my perspective is based on the journey that I have been experiencing here. When I first stumbled upon the idea of my consciousness leaving my body back on 9/11/2001, I was able to recognize that our thought energy and the being in which we house our conscious experience are separate. And by will or by practice, you can separate them and allow your consciousness to experience other realms, other possibilities, other lifetimes, and even different elements of consciousness that you would be surprised you could experience once you have trained yourself and become adept at that kind of movement. Such as I can look into a client's nocturnal dreams. Even if they don't remember the dream, I can pick up on the dream and bring forth an interpretation for them so that they can get the message from that level of their own consciousness. I can enter into other spaces in physical time on Earth, such as past lives, and even future lives or future happenings. But one of the most fascinating experiences that I've had in my conscious traveling is to experience what I call the state of consciousness before we're born. That state of consciousness, I'll refer to it as the energy realm, where all conscious energy resides while we're in or not in physical form. The energy realm is the place where our soul knows. Our soul has complete and never-ending information and understanding about the journey of the soul, the journey of why we choose a physical life, what the soul even is to begin with. And when we take on a physical life, it gives a house for the soul to grow and expand in. So this physical manifestation, I always see it as like this is your banana peel. The banana peel holds our soul, holds our consciousness while we're journeying and exploring in such a specific realm, the physical realm where we have space and time. So what I also get to experience, which is magnificent, is the return of the consciousness back to that state where we were before we were born. The good news is that although there are so many, thousands and thousands of reports on Earth of people who have experienced this journey of consciousness through a near-death experience, luckily for me, I don't have to have trauma to get there. In other words, I don't need to begin the journey of exiting my body in order to experience what happens when we die. And that gives me a frame of reference that I think adds on to the body of wisdom and knowledge that we have from so many people that have reported about the near-death experience. And what I experience, I don't necessarily experience it in slow motion as we would, as we're allowing our bodies to separate from us. I experience it now where I'm here, and then my state of consciousness is in the energy realm. And Karen, my own earthly self at this moment is a memory. So I can go from one to the other almost instantaneously now. But what I have experienced in figuring out how to allow my consciousness to be free is I experienced the journey of what we go through when we're allowing the body to dissolve and we're allowing this part of our soul's whole entire eternal journey, this slice, to have the final chapter. And what it is that it's important that we remember little things slowly about what it means to be a soul without a body. So the first thing that happens is that the illusion of separateness, the illusion of the finality that we may suppose a physical life is, the illusion starts to dissolve. But since we're very, very connected to being a human, and we're very connected to being the specific human we are when we die, it's important that we feel invited and welcomed into that other state of consciousness in which we don't mind enjoying the trip and the journey. We don't want to be actively fighting and punching our way. No, 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 I want to stay as Karen. If it is our time to separate, our soul wants it to be peaceful. The universe wants it to be peaceful. All souls want us to experience the journey in accordance with what the soul's journey is truly about, which is love, optimism, freedom, bliss, even ecstasy. So one of our first memories that comes back is, what is unconditional love? And who do we represent as a source of unconditional love in our own lives? I see it as like greeters, if you will. So you're going to have a soul kind of appear as a friend, but that soul is going to be connected to your version of unconditional love while you were in this human journey. So for some people, that source might be some figure that they learned in their religion. For some people, that might be their grandmother. For some people, it might be someone that they heard about or read about, or a great philosopher. But whatever made them feel as though unconditional love is a thing, that it exists. If they felt it or read it or knew it in any moment in their lifetime, that will become a source of greeting when we return home. Because love that has no conditions on it gives us an entirely different feeling than love that is conditional. You know, I know a lot of people misunderstand even what the term unconditional love means. Some people think of it as, no matter what, I love you, but I also have to teach you. My love for you is unconditional, so I have to tell you everything you're doing wrong so you do it better because I love you so much. I don't want you to be hurt. That's not unconditional love. Unconditional love means that I love you through thick and thin, ups and downs, black and white, left and right, whether you think you are good, bad, whether you think you are worthy or unworthy, whether you are proud of your actions or whether you're regretful of your actions, regardless of circumstances, regardless of the day of the week it is, regardless of your age, regardless of your hair color, regardless of how you carry yourself that day. Love will never end. It is always there for you. When you touch unconditional love, when it touches you, you soar with a knowingness of your own value, of your own worthiness. When you touch that and you feel it and you take it in, you remember what it's like to be a soul without a body, who you were before you were born. So your greeters are going to remind you of that experience by representing exactly what you believe a source of unconditional love is in your life. And that helps the haze to start to fade. those veils that separate you from your own wisdom, from your own all-knowingness, they get to slowly dissolve. It doesn't come as a punch. It doesn't come with fear. It doesn't come with a fight. It comes with just this memory. Oh my gosh, I love you. You love me. Look at this. It feels golden. It feels magical. It feels welcoming and embracing and warm. I feel enveloped in love. I feel enveloped. I feel welcome. It feels like a privilege to start to remember what this feeling is. And during that process, that this source of love without any conditions for you makes itself known and you remember the source. As you become more connected to your memories of that soul or that source, your other memories of your eternal knowledge and your eternal memories, they begin to emerge as well. So now you start to experience what I call the comprehension portion of that return home. Comprehension comes with knowingness of what you were doing here to begin with. It comes with the acknowledgement that your earthly self was a part of your whole self, and that there is no separation, there is no loss, there is no time, there is no space. It was simply going from one state of consciousness, one state of how you looked at things, how you perceived things, moving into another state, the state of the pureness of your soul. You're shifting from your earthly consciousness, your awake state, to the memory of all that is. So this knowingness comes with, try to think of how do I explain this without sounding like an overplayed out Hollywood movie. And what it is, it's like you do review the experiences of your life, but not in that way of looking at it and judging it or feeling regret or shame or blame. You look at it with such comprehension. You look at it through the eyes of love. You look at it like, why did I love at that minute, but the next minute I couldn't give any love? Why was I able to receive love there, but then in all of these other circumstances I couldn't take any love in? You review your experiences of that give and that take. And if you feel like you did harm to someone, you get this comprehension of how you really did the best that you could within your level of awareness at that moment from what you experienced in your lifetime. You don't feel ashamed. You don't have regret. You have comprehension. You get it. And you get reconnected to the memory that when we love ourselves and we love each other in the physical journey, then we get to experience this high of the soul without a body. We get to experience it in our human manifestation of the soul. We remember all of this. We remember why we chose to be born at all, so that our soul could experience what happens when we give and receive love here. How we grow ourselves, how we grow others. We start to recognize all of the moments when we made a choice or when something happened and you're looking at it from a soul's perspective saying, oh, what if I had gone that way? Well, you can't go that way in that moment because of all the things that happened to you that made you who you were when you hit that crossroad. How can you make a better decision at any moment than what you know inside of you from all of the experiences you had in your lifetime? You can't. That's the whole point, is for us to develop as humans as we get more connected to recognizing how important it is to grow back our love of self and to help others grow back their love of themselves as well. One example would be, so I didn't have a great childhood, and there's there's a spectrum of what does it mean to not have a great childhood. Yours might have been worse, yours might have been better, but what matters is what I took away from mine. What I took away was pain. What I took away was an inability to wake up each morning feeling naturally happy. What I took away from my childhood was damaging behaviors that I regretted. I didn't understand how those things developed. I didn't understand yet that we're born innately happy and whole and self-loving. But I carried all of that with me, and through my own journey of discovery and enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, I recognized how the behaviors that I had developed were things that created regret and shame, and how limiting those were, how they pulled me down, how they made me feel unworthy, how they made me feel like my childhood experiences had already made me feel. So as my consciousness returns to the state of memory, I get to see why I chose those behaviors. I get to see the exact specific dominoes falling. Here's what happened, here was the effect, here was the cause, here was the effect, here was the cause, here was the effect. It almost seemed as though I didn't choose the way I became as an adult because I didn't choose it consciously. It was just this mixed up tornado of effects of what had happened to me in my earlier experiences. Once I became aware of it, I could opt to become conscious enough to change those. But when you're asleep, when you don't see the cause and the effect of the things that happen and what it did to you, you're not consciously knowing how you behave and how it affects you or how it affects others. But this journey home reveals it all for you. So you learn, you discover, you feel more tender about your life. You feel accepting and trusting of the journey that you just experienced. You have comprehension as to why not only you behaved the way that you did, but comprehension about why the people who mistreated you behaved the way that they did. So the comprehension expands beyond just your earth life, and it goes to the earth lives of all of the people who affected you and of those who affected you positively. You understand those who kind of kept your fire alive, the people who made you be visible for a moment in a sea of pain, the people who made you feel as though you were worthy. You remember all of that too, and you get to see that the core of how they kept you alive was through love. You get to see the effect of giving love, what it does for another human being, and what taking away or denying it does to another human being. You comprehend it all. I say to people a lot that, it's important if you had a tough childhood, look for those people in those moments, in those years that kind of recognize that you were worthy. Someone that maybe let you read your poem aloud in 4th grade because they knew you did a good job, or the person that gave you a little bit of extra responsibility when you were in high school, or the person who shared something with you when you didn't even ask, or someone who paid attention to you or noticed you when it wasn't expected. When you look at these moments, someone that just seemed to care for you for who you are, not for what you could give in return, but for exactly who you are on the inside. Those are the individuals that knew how to love. Somehow, some way, it emerged in them, and they could treat you with that source of unconditional love that helped you move to the next moment of your life. These moments, I call them the lights that keep our soul flame lit. And those points of light throughout a journey, no matter how difficult the journey is, can help a person become an adult so that they can experience this clarity the clarity that you can by choosing to be awake as a human, or the clarity that you receive when you do die. The passing over from the level of consciousness you're in, the level of consciousness you're in as a human, into the level of consciousness of being a whole soul. So what happens when you die? It's a beautiful experience. It's a loving experience. It's when anything that you can possibly think that felt great when you were human, you get to feel that way again, only amplified. Amplified, 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 because love is all that matters. Love is all that there is. This human journey gets us an opportunity to experience when the love is dialed down. We're all doing the best we can within our level of awareness, but when the love is dialed down, we dial it down in ourselves and we dial it down in others. And the journey home brings us back to the state of consciousness of pure love, where we are limitless, where we are free, where we are happy, where we are back to a sense of all-knowingness. I always remember in seminars when I'm discussing the journey home and how liberating and beautiful and magnificent and blissful and even ecstasy-filled it is. I always remind people that even though that's a phenomenal trip and a phenomenal return and a phenomenal place to return to that state of consciousness, you never want to forego the experiences you're having in this physical journey, because you can create that here. That's what enlightenment is. And you will never, ever, ever pass this way again exactly as you are today. Your experiences, the cells in your body, your voice, your memories, your personality, everything about you as you are right now will never come here again. So don't shortchange it, enjoy it. You got all of eternity to not be in this body, so make the most of what you have here. What happens when you die is a huge topic. I covered a lot, some of the very specific curiosities you may have today. But because it is such a big topic and it's so meaningful, like what happens with your past loved ones, who do you meet first and why? I'll be revisiting a lot of this in more depth, so please look forward to and find my next video. And if my videos resonate with you, please consider subscribing to my channel.